Here we are on another Friday, May 22nd, 2020. Welcome to Bouncing Brains, ladies and gentlemen. I am Sean Hatfield.
And I'm Freddy G. You beautiful motherfuckers.
It's another great
day. It's another great day to be alive. You remember how like you remember back in the day, and by back in the day I mean like 2 months ago, you used to just wake up and you used to plan shit. You're like, you know what, tomorrow I'm gonna go do this shit because I need to make sure I gotta take care of it, and we have my little girl's party, we gonna do this. And it feels like now today, like people today are now like just, you glad to open your eyes the next day and it's like, oh shit, I'm still here. My lungs are there, and I just, and I'm really saying that because I read an article. Earlier today. I think it was on the HuffPost, to where like they're kind of like trying to figure out what the next couple of years are gonna be like. And it says like they took this short survey and they were just asking people like what they thought moving forward, how were they gonna move, and stuff like that. And a lot of people in that survey mentioned that they were taking it a day at a time, and a lot of people had the same common answer, which was like, I'm just glad to be able to wake up another day and not be sick. And it's kind of sad, but if you think about the reality of it, that's kind of the world that we live in now. And people don't believe me, man. People don't believe me, but I'm saying it wrong. We should come to the realization that from this time moving forward, life may permanently be different in many ways. I'm not saying you have to stop living. I'm totally against that. You should still live your life, but just understand that some of the ways that we used to live, they may be different in the near future. And you have to learn to cope and be okay with it. My perfect example, ladies and gentlemen, for the people that do follow me and know that I was an avid trainer. Like I used to train at a gym. I have not been to a public gym in almost 3 months now. 2 months now. And I'm still skeptical. The gyms are open. You're more than welcome to go. But I'm skeptical about just going back to the gym yet.
Well, let me throw it to you this way, man.
Before we continue real quick, This episode has been brought to you by Rockstar. If you ever want to feel like a rock star, you make sure you pick one of these up. And just like your good old alcohol commercials, drink responsibly. Because we'll wire the fuck out if you drink too many. But drink a Rockstar. Go ahead, sir.
The only time I've ever had a cop just automatically look at me just in a nervous state of what the fuck is this guy on was after I'd downed about 6 rock stars and was doing about 120 back from San Antonio one time trying to meet a deadline.
Damn, 6 rock stars, bro?
I jumped out of the car shaking like a goddamn meth head. I had to explain that to the cop. He thought it was an excuse until he looked in the passenger window and saw the mountain of white cans sitting on the floor of my car. And then he just looked concerned for my health.
I drank, this was recently too, this was like 3 weeks ago. I drank 2 in an hour. And I immediately proceeded, after I finished the last one, about 10 minutes in, I proceeded to regret it. Because like my heart was pounding. But again, I've always been the type of person that I'm very good of controlling my mind. And I know that a lot of the shit that I feel is just within me. And like basically what I'm saying is I know that I'm not going to die. Because because I've had a lot of closer calls. But so I'm very good at just calming down, and I tell myself you're not gonna die, just chill the fuck out. So, but I felt my heart like racing, and I was bouncing off the wall. I felt good until I got the shakes. When I got the shakes, I was fucking shit, and I was like, okay, I just need to chill out. So then I just went out, and I went out for a walk.
Yeah,
and then
deep breaths, lots of oxygen, just,
yeah.
That's all it really is, man, is you've got, your muscles are spasming on one level. It's actually, if I understand correctly, it's not the caffeine so much as the B12.
Yeah, exactly. People don't know that. Your regular average Joe, this shit contains B vitamins, including B12, and it contains caffeine, no sugar. That's why I drink it. But it's the B12 vitamin that really gets you on the jitter side if you have too much of it. Yeah. And it also, it doesn't work the same way for everybody, but for me particularly, if I drink too much of it, like it makes me really fucking hungry. Like
hungry, really?
It takes me into starve mode. Like I want to devour everything.
Well, and
it's an uncomfortable feeling.
The only downside with this, and I was unaware of quite a while, it's got sucralose that's the sweetener that it has.
Maybe we shouldn't talk shit about it.
I ain't talking shit.
Because I just promoted
the product. Look, I'm not saying it's got fucking aspartame in it. You know what I mean? It's not going to give your kid fucking autism or something. I'm not saying aspartame causes autism. I'm just saying aspartame causes autism. You tell me what you want to think. But what I'm saying is the sucralose does kick in the liver to spit out glucose into the system. So it starts up. It pretty much.
So maybe that's why it makes you hungry.
I think that might be part of it.
Glucose. That's why it's not good when you do fasting. You have to make sure that you just either drink, again, personal preference, drink water, because normally if you fast, doctors will tell you it's okay to drink black coffee or tea. I've tried both, and I think it's because I'm not putting straight water into my system, and when I drink coffee, I'm putting, liquid in something else. That it wakes up my metabolism and it makes me hungry. When I just drink water, I'm good. You know what I mean? I've only tried the green tea and the coffee about 3 or 4 times in my lifetime when I'm fasting, and it wasn't a good experience.
Pretty much anything that your liver has to process, the nicotine, the caffeine, whatever it is. The way I heard it explained to me, I don't think it's quite this simple, but the first thing you put into your body that's not water kicks off your metabolism.
Your metabolism, and that's absolutely true.
That's literally the breaking of your fast.
I actually seen a detailed video, animated, well, not like a 3D video, of like what happens when you do anything to like you said, wake up your metabolism. Like it showed you the full process and the science behind it. Look it up on YouTube. It's pretty interesting, and it breaks down the facts behind the science.
Just to give a little bit of contrast, having actually, had too much, like just caffeine without the added, the B12 and all the other shit that's going in there. To be honest, I never felt jittery so much as jittery. Yes, at a certain point, if you've drank like 2 pots of coffee, in an afternoon, you're probably going to feel a little bit jittery. But the first thing that I always felt was just anxious, as opposed to
it triggers anxiety.
Yeah, I'm saying the anxiety comes before the jitters,
because that's triggered by caffeine.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. As opposed to like the energy drinks, as opposed to say something like just having too much tea. I've done it with tea before, dude. I was on a green tea kick. And
that's
back.
Never happened to me with tea. But because I think I've drank green tea before because I heard that it was a healthier substitute to coffee. But I stopped doing it because it didn't give me the same kick. Which brings me to my point. I purposefully drank a lot of it.
Right.
Like to kick, and the kick never happened. I just shitted a lot, and I pissed a lot. Like, a lot. So I gotta cleanse.
Yeah, that's, I mean, a lot of it might be psychosomatic as well. Like, I didn't really think that I was getting a kick off the tee until it got to the point where I was, like, all of a sudden it was like, oh shit, like I knew what a caffeine, overdose felt like. I was like, oh, okay, that's what the fuck that is.
Yeah. So quick.
How did we get started on this shit?
Oh, because I was fucking advertising Rockstar. So
yeah, but we were talking.
Drink a Rockstar.
We were talking about something before. Oh, the will life be different? Blah blah blah. Let me throw this at you, man. I think all we've done is added one more option on the reality tunnel you can fucking travel down. Because there are a lot of people right now that have already gone full.
Hold that thought, because we gonna get into that a little more.
Not like we got to break it for a sponsorship, motherfucker. What do you?
No. Because I was gonna touch another subject right now.
What are you, Joe Biden? Just trying to touch everybody up in this motherfucker?
So that we can...
tell me you saw that clip from the Breakfast Club.
No, I've been wanting to come around. Yeah, but I didn't see the clip, but I heard the soundbite of what he said about if you vote for Trump, you don't like black people or some shit like that.
No, I
did hear that soundbite.
Something about if you have to choose, if you think you have to choose between me and Trump, or if you find it hard to choose between me and Trump, then you're not really black.
No, that's not
I'm
what
telling
he
you,
said.
it was something to that effect. That we'll look it up.
Oh yeah.
Look, it doesn't matter. It was ridiculous shit. Leave the old man alone. Please stop putting him on the goddamn I don't like Joe Biden if one iota, but stop torturing old people, god damn it.
What I wanted to touch on real quick, and I don't want to go too deep into this because my main reason is I don't like talking about other people's pockets. I've been against that for a long time,
right?
But I just want to put this into perspective. What I wanted to talk about was the huge contract that Joe Rogan landed with Spotify. The reason, I don't know if you read about it or whatnot.
I haven't looked into the details, but $100 million for exclusivity, essentially.
Yeah. First of all, people, and again, I am not a professional by a long shot, but I've done a lot of reading because this is what I do. I mean, that's why we're fucking podcasting, and this is why I tell jokes. You get the fucking point. So I've done reading, right? So first of all,
can read.
What I want to tell y'all is when you hear $100 million, Joe Rogan is not gonna get $100 million. It's from that money. Money goes to him. Money goes to his agent or whoever the fuck help him get that deal, so on and so forth. And then over a period of time, because the article does say a multiple year contract, he's gonna get some of that money, and in hopes he'll get most of it. You understand what I'm saying? So it's not like somebody cut him a check for $100 million. The only person that I know of in recent years that signed a contract for $100 million and he got cut a check after taxes and he got $100 million, because that's how he negotiated the contract, was when 50 Cent signed the deal with vitamin water with Coca-Cola. He actually did get a check for $100 million. But because in his contract he stipulated, you're going to pay my agent fee, you're going to pay my taxes, and I need $100 million check. And then this is what I'm going to do for you. And Coca-Cola was okay, fine. So that's how that worked out. But I'm pretty sure Rogan didn't do that. I'm almost positive. I'm not saying he's stupid or anything like that. I'm just saying I doubt that that's how this one played out. Anyway, point being, the reason that I wanted to touch on that is because for the past 5 years, I don't know if I've told you before this off camera, because we've talked about it a lot, but I want to say for the past 4 or 5 years, I almost follow Rogan's podcast religiously. Cause to me, you don't have to agree with me. To me, it's entertaining. I find entertainment in it. And it is a great podcast to me, my opinion. So I follow it a lot. So for a long time, I started to look at everything, I started to look at numbers, his growth, the longevity, the views that he gets on a daily basis. I started looking at everything. So in my thought I was like, this dude's a comedian that has 5 specials on Netflix. And Netflix has been dishing money left and right over the recent couple years for like stand-up specials and so on and so forth. So I know that Rogan makes money from YouTube and ads and sponsors, and I'm pretty sure he makes a good chunk of change. But my mentality, I used to always ask myself, and that's why I was like, man, I really wish that I knew this dude personally, because I would literally get on the phone with him and I would tell him and I would ask him this question. Hey dude, have you ever thought of pitching your podcast to Netflix and see if Netflix would buy it? And I think as far as like a business move, like money wise, if Netflix would have purchased it, it would be less stress for him and more money, right? But then you got to think about you.
All right, hold on just a second. I see where you're going with this, and I have some thoughts on this, but I got to duck out real quick, finish that thought, and I'm going to come back and challenge you with the thought that he might be making more money not going that route. But finish your thought, man.
Yeah. So yeah, people, for the ones that are watching and listening at this point, I did think about that. And I've thought of it for some time now. Ever since I've seen the growth of the podcast and everything, I just felt that it would be a good move to make as far as the business side of it. Like I mentioned, he has the longevity. I mean, he started this podcast back in December of 2009, if I'm not mistaken, was when he initially started the podcast out of his house, off his couch. For the people that do watch, I was just gonna say, it would be nice if y'all send us questions by email or give us your feedback by email. So, because I'm thinking of creating a segment, and this is something that I'm going to talk to Sean about off camera. But I'm thinking of creating a segment where basically we read off of your feedback or whatever, and I'm going to try to figure out a way to make that particular segment more interactive and so on and so forth. So if you do provide us your feedback, good or bad, I don't shy away from bullshit and
there's a small handful of y'all that have left comments on the videos, either Facebook, yada yada. Usually we just respond to you there, but if you have a question you want to see like answered on here, I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you, most of the reason we're not like bringing up the comments that are left on the videos and shit is because most of it's not. It's either
I was just either complimented or shitting on because of the shirt I was wearing. So now you see, I wear solid colors, motherfucker.
It's either usually yay this guy or fuck this guy.
Yeah, pretty much.
And that's cool. I mean, do what you're gonna do. Engage with the algorithm. That's all we want.
Yeah. So I know what you. I kind of know where you were going with it, and to answer your question, like plain and dry, and we can elaborate on it, because I want to hear your side of it. But I know that he probably, for Joe, because Joe is a no nonsense type of guy. Like, I feel like I know enough of him to tell you that Joe does not like dealing with a lot of bullshit.
Okay, I wasn't even going to take it on that angle, but yeah, man, having to engage with the feedback from any production.
But what I was going to say was, because he said it before, he's openly said it before. Like, his thing, he's kind of like me. I'm very tight with my creativity, and even though it may not be much, but my creativity is mine, and I don't like anybody fucking with it. So, and Joe's like that. Joe doesn't like to give creative control to anybody. That's why he's always said. That's why I would never do a sitcom. I would never do anything with like a network TV unless I had full control of my creativity, my production, so on and so forth. Now, what I was going to say was Netflix, and this is from Joe's mouth. The reason that I'm so comfortable working with Netflix is because they basically let me they cut me a check, and then they're like, all right, dude, do whatever the fuck it is that you do. And they don't fuck with my production. They don't fuck with my creative space. I check in with them every now and then just to let them know how things are going. And then that's it. So going to what you were going to say was that I also did think about it. Like, if you would have signed with Netflix, I'm pretty sure that there would have been some very elastically but still barriers there that maybe he thought about it and maybe he didn't want to go down that route. So now I think about it. I was like, okay, so he did decide to sign to Spotify. So I thought, again, because Joe's a creative guy and he likes to be in control, like, two things. Spotify had to have thrown an enormous amount of money.
Okay, just to be clear about this, the deal they're making with him is strictly for distribution. That has nothing to do with the production side. It doesn't change anything about.
And that's why he took it. But and you're right. But my point is that they also signed exclusivity, and this is there's nothing wrong with it. I'm not saying he made a bad move. Joe's a smart guy, so if he did
this
that,
out, then this goes to part of my case about why I think it's more profitable for him to stick to the non, let's say, because Netflix has pretty much become a traditional distribution method at this point. You know what I mean? That is the mainstream.
Because everybody's
Hulu, Netflix, Disney Plus, all that. That's your mainstream avenue.
But by the way, people, if y'all haven't noticed, your regular TV's dead. Just so you know, in case you haven't noticed. Go ahead.
I have both pity and understanding for small town television. I wish it was better. I wish NPR was, let's say, better organized so that they could. I mean, we don't even have.
I like NPR.
We don't. Okay, we don't even. Do we still have NPR radio down here anymore? Even.
Well, I don't know about radio, but I get NPR radio on my phone.
Okay, yeah.
Does that count?
But I'm saying, like, we don't have. We used to have a local NPR affiliate.
Oh, that was a long time ago, bro.
Less than 10 years, man.
No, it's been a little bit more. I don't know how long, but it's been more than 10 years.
All right,
that was. It's actually been a lot more than 10 years. I think that died out at the turn of the century. I think in 2001.
Jesus, man. That's how poorly organized they were. They couldn't even tell people they were going out of business. Anyway, my point being, man, I think there is a place for local media, and
we'll never go out of business because we're not even in business to begin with. See, be smart. Can't go out of business if you never go in business.
Can't lose money I didn't make.
I'm fucking with y'all. I still want y'all to give me y'all's money, if you'd like.
Hey man, you heard about this shit about the IRS in
let me finish that thought though. I really want to finish so we can get off the Rogan thing.
Which thought were we? Okay, let me. That caveat I was throwing in was the deal still allows Rogan to post clips to YouTube and all that shit. And I think part of that, because that was very specific. I'm trying to remember where it was I was looking at where that was specifically mentioned, where it was like, yeah, the JRE clip channel or whatever on YouTube, that shit's still going to be running. And
because I think that's not even his.
Huh? No. They have their own clip channel. There's actually a clip from one of the episodes where he explains why the episodes don't go out live anymore. They record the entire thing.
I know that. But
okay, you know why though, right?
Okay, we may have two different reasons, but give me yours.
My understanding was they started doing that because people were getting the jump on them with the clips. So basically, they were getting the traffic diverted away from the clip channel.
Okay.
So basically,
I read a completely different reason as to why they don't go live anymore. They
have some incident as well.
Kind of, but not really. Again, I don't know who's wrong or right, but I know
there's at least you can find a clip of Joe explaining the thing about getting the clip traffic diverted away. If there was another reason.
From what I understand, and again, it's an article that I had read on Gizmo, I think, and I don't know how credible that shit is anyway. But anyway,
just to be clear for anybody, we're not just sitting here fanboying over fucking Rogan. This is actually.
I was trying to make a main point out of that, and I wanted to get off it because, like I said, I really don't like talking about anybody's pockets because, excuse me, y'all, but because I really think it's tacky and it's unprofessional. I know that there's a lot of people that get their underwear and their panties wet talking about how much people make and shit like that. I'm not that person. If you're successful, I don't give a shit if you had $300,000 in your bank account or if you have $1,000. As long as you're happy and successful, I'm fine. I don't care if you're a billionaire. If you're a billionaire, great. May God continue to bless you. But I'm not interested in that. The reason that I brought it up was because of that. I thought that I always thought because of the prosperity of the Joe Rogan podcast, I always felt that he could do a lot more. Like, I'm very hesitant into paying for content. I very seldomly pay for content. Because I'm just like, if I pay for something, is because I feel that what you're putting out is worth my money.
Right.
So what I'm saying is, Joe Rogan's podcast is, if not the only one, that I would actually pay for if I had to. I mean, as long as it wasn't a ridiculous amount of fucking money, I would, like, if there was a subscription, hence Netflix, that I had to, like, a perfect example. If I did not have Netflix and I wasn't a Netflix customer, but I was a JRE fan, I would buy Netflix to watch Rogan. So now I remember the point that I was trying to make. This is what really caught me at a whoa, right? I was like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that. Mm-hmm. When he signed that deal with Spotify is going to have exclusive access to his whole library. Now check this out. I don't know if you read this part. To audio and video.
Okay.
Like you're gonna go to Spotify,
right,
and watch the video content.
Yeah.
On there. That's when I was like, holy shit, they're really. But because I read another article, and this is what I didn't want to talk about, because I'm not very well fleshed out on it. But I think that Spotify is the first of its kind that's trying to bring, like, they're going to bring on a shitload of other podcast and video content. And no other streaming service. The only one that comes close to it, and again, from what I understand, it's not really close, is Apple. Because I think Apple does some kind of shit with video too. But they're not podcasts, which leads me back to what we were talking about earlier.
Well, I think we've talked about this before. Part of the limit of iTunes was that it was so segmented, where you had to like, you're looking for one thing and it's like, fuck, well, I have to go to, I can't just go to like, podcasts. I have to go to like audio. And this was before. Now you've got Apple Podcasts and all that shit.
Yeah.
But I personally think what you're going to find with a lot of, and I think this may be where Spotify is going, is you can still search by genre, but like pretty much they're offering you everything in one place. I mean, the only thing they're not offering you is like full, like, production, TV show, movie, that kind of shit.
Yeah.
But as far as like, dude, they could do full fucking talk shows, whatever. They clearly have, shit. Look at the quality on the ads they give you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And by the way, if you're not aware of this, a lot of those apps like Spotify, I think YouTube with like, I think Verizon maybe, or at least for a while it was, they could run those ads in full quality content because it didn't come out of your data. They basically prepaid for the data to give you high quality advertisements. It's, it's the reason your smart TV doesn't cost that much because they're selling your information. But that's a different story. Where's Joseph Soto when you need him? You know what I mean? There's microphones in the fucking microwave.
No, but and that's basically all I wanted to cap off with that. Like,
but okay, but I think that bit about the clips that kind of stuck with me because it's like Spotify is recognizing that like they don't need exclusivity for everything. It's like, look, if you want to sit down and watch the full show, which you and I are the type of viewers that would do that. I just finished listening to that episode with Joel Salatin earlier today.
No, the one that I finished. Well, no, I finished it like in one sitting. Was the Tony Hawk one. The Tony Hawk one was really interesting.
I haven't sat down with that one yet. There was the Joel Salatin, and then there was... I
haven't seen that one.
I still haven't finished the one with Elon Musk. I think I'm about maybe 20, 30 minutes into it. But the second one with Elon Musk.
That one was entertaining too.
Right. Shit, there was some more... Oh, yeah. What I'm saying is if Spotify has the exclusivity for that, which there are a lot of podcasts where Spotify is where I go to listen to it. You know what I mean? One, it's got the audio, but if they start offering the video in a reasonable format, I'm more than willing to go there.
And I'm about to prove my point. I was not an avid user of Spotify, but when I heard that they bought the Joe Rogan podcast, I downloaded the application and I made a profile.
You just answered a question I was about to ask, which was basically you're saying that the podcast is a product that you would literally buy a subscription for.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is what I reiterated earlier with like the Netflix example. Which
to be honest, I think this is even smarter because one, you don't have to buy a subscription for Spotify to listen to the podcast.
No.
And two, they're not relying on that sort of exclusivity. They just want you to use their platform. They already have their ad revenue set up. And as I was saying with the clips, they're not looking for you to come in and watch, a 3, 10, 15 minute clip. They want you to sit there and listen for the full 3 hour. You know what I mean? And then between things, they're going to run you CVS ads and all that shit.
So the only thing, like, I guess, I don't want to fucking sound cliche, but I don't know what other way to put it. The moral to my point is that when you create something because you love to do it, and Rogan has expressed his love for talking behind a microphone, and that's the only reason that he started doing podcasts from his house 11 years ago. When you do it just because you love it and you're consistent, I mean, y'all gonna call me crazy, but you can run into $100 million contract somewhere down the line. But my point is, it's not, and I hate to say it because I'm broke, but it's not really the money, yo. It's because you believe in what you're doing and you love it. take us for example. Actually, we are. We are the greatest example of that. I'm not ashamed to tell you once again, we're broke.
This motherfucker's about to go Don King up in this motherfucker.
Like we broke and everything. And I can tell you today, May 22nd of 2020, we've been doing this for over a year now. Ain't nobody paying us. We receiving zero money. But for the most part, with the exception of the past couple of months, we do this. We come in here and record. We create this content and we put it out. First and foremost, because it takes time, and I feel sorry for him because he puts in the most time. But, like we do this shit because we like to do it, and we feel that we have something to say. You may not like everything that we say, and you're more than welcome to change the channel. But the point is that we do it because we like to do it. So my point is, I just and Rogan has talked about this before. There's no greater job in the world than finding what you really love to do, and then second step or third step, figuring out a way to monetize it. I guarantee you that whatever it is that you love to do, whatever it is, you don't even have to give me the example. Whatever it is, you can figure out a way to monetize it. The reason being is because ever since the social media river or ocean or whatever the fuck it is you want to call it, like was dawned upon us, you can figure out ways to monetize shit. So and do it because it makes you happy. There's nothing worse than to have a fucking 9-to-5 job and you make great money, but you're fucking miserable doing it.
Just want to throw this out there because I have kind of been considering over this idea for a bit, and I was listening to a conversation the other day that kind of brought this aspect of the concept to the forefront, which was, okay, yes, we live in an age where almost anything you do can be monetized. But if you're going to try to monetize it, ask yourself if that effort, all right, like you can paint a pretty picture, but does it really matter to you if anyone looks at it? You know what I mean? Like
well, that's what I'm trying to say.
Because I know people that do creative shit that they just do it for themselves,
yeah,
and then they just kind of throw it aside.
But
and every once in a while they'll get that wild hair up their ass and be like, hey man, I could sell this to somebody. It's like, yeah, but is that actually part of that passion? You have that urge to create,
no,
but do you have that urge to share?
So that's what I'm saying. Like, all I'm saying is, like, do it first because you love to do it. And then, like, if the money comes, like, it'll come. But you have to be okay with the fact that if it doesn't come, if the money doesn't come, are you going to continue doing it? And if your answer is no, then 99 times out of 100, you whatever it was that you were doing, you were just doing it for the money.
That's fair enough. I'm just saying on the flip side of that, you can very easily burn yourself out over something that's like, hey, I like, I don't know, fucking painting houses. Okay, great. Have you ever had to get up at fucking 5 o'clock in the morning and go get?
But that's different though.
It is and it isn't, man. I think
it's different because
you can go find a lot of examples of, say, people who are doing things that not too dissimilar from what we're doing, as far as YouTubers or fucking podcasters or shit like that burn themselves out, man. You know, they're doing
again. That's a great example. I like the way you place that because it leads me back to my point again. If you burn yourself out, then you weren't enjoying what you were doing, which is the example that I was going to give you now.
Okay, but a lot of times it's putting that aspect of like, all right, say like this, man. If and not to just demonstrate my importance to the podcast, but like, dude, if I wasn't doing the audio production and coming and setting up the microphones and all that, would you do this?
You read my mind. That's exactly where I was going, and I'm glad you
Okay,
said
but
it.
that doesn't diminish like your enthusiasm
No,
to like
let
get
me-
on
let-
the mic and
let-
actually have the discussions.
Let me
Okay, go for
let
it.
me answer that quick because that's where I was going. I've asked myself this question a million times. If two questions, which you already asked one. If my, because I do comedy and shit, and that's where I feel where most of the bread and butter for the rest of my life is gonna come from eventually. But I've asked myself, if this shit here that we're doing never generates a dime, would I continue doing it? And 9 times out of 10, I was almost gonna say 100. Fuck. 9 times out of 10, I've said yes. Like if this was free, like meaning that I made no money from it for the rest of my life or my career, I would still do it because I enjoy doing this shit and it makes me happy. And like I've said a million times before, it's kind of like a therapy to me as well. So to go back to your question, if you didn't do the technical shit, and I've thought of that, I was like, and I was gonna, we were thinking of like, because I was gonna use this example too. If one day Sean decided to quit and be like, hey man, I don't want to do this shit no more. And you, I mean, I'm not gonna hold you hostage, right? We've always said, you know,
I mean, feel free to bribe me. But, whatever.
we've always said, you know, we've always had the understanding that if either one of us wants to walk away from this shit, no matter where it is, we could, you know, walk away from it cleanly or whatever. You're free to, basically you're free to go whenever you want to go. So I've thought of it. If Sean quits today, first of all, it would suck because I really enjoyed doing this shit with him, but it wouldn't diminish or it wouldn't stop my wanting to podcast. So what I would do, with all due respect to Sean, I would take my ass back to square one and build again a podcast. You know, you know, I don't know if it would be with somebody else. I don't know if I would have to go in there and start from scratch and teach myself how to do this shit, because people that know I'm not too technically inclined. So, but my point is, I would figure out a way to podcast again, because this is what I love to do. Now, again, and I've never told you this before, but I feel comfortable telling you on camera. Out of respect to Sean and the stuff that we created, but him being a part of it, I wouldn't go and create another Bouncing Brains with Freddy. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, I wouldn't be like, hey, it's Bouncing Brains again, it's Freddy, but Sean's not here. Out of respect for him, you know what I'm saying? Because I mean, if this shit ever dies out, I would like to leave Bouncing Brains for what it was, you know what I'm saying? And Bouncing Brains had a good run, but that's what it was. I would not want to, you know, take the name and take it on my own. And I've thought of this before. The only way that I would, and I didn't think we were gonna have this conversation on camera, but I'm comfortable with it. The only way that I would carry the Bouncing Brains name, and move it forward without Sean is like, for example, if like you were to pass away or some shit happens to you, right. Again, and this is what I'm telling you on camera that I've never told you before, was like, if you were comfortable and you were like, hey, you know what, if something happens to me and I'm no longer here, you know, it'd be cool if you continue, you know, the Bouncing Brains and the brand and the movement, without me, you know, cause at one point, you were a part of it and you're no longer here, but I would like to keep that, I would like to keep that alive.
Freddy, I'm not gonna lie. What I would tell you as the last words, as I'm, right after I whisper Rosebud, the last words would be kill it dead, and that's not out of spite. That I have logic and reason behind that. I'll throw you out a perfect example as to finish your thought.
Yeah, real quick. What I was gonna tie it to was everybody that know me too. I'm a real big hip hop head. Mm-hmm. I'm a real huge hip hop head. Perfect example that I could give you is UGK. For the people that don't know and that are not hip hop heads, UGK is a legendary group out of Houston that was made of Bun B and Pimp C. I'm not gonna give you the whole history. Go Google it, you'll find it. My point is, when Pimp C passed, like UGK kept going through Bun B, but because that was one of Pimp C's wishes to, and vice versa. If one was missing, they said that they would keep the UGK together and the movement going, and that's why Bun kept it alive, even though Pimp's no longer here. So it's kind of like what I tie it to. But now you've said something different, so I want to hear your side of it.
Okay, just to kind of play off that last thought. Did you ever listen to the later projects? Because I
listened to.
I was never like a huge UGK fan, but like I am familiar with like the original shit.
I listened to the later project. I listened to the last one that actually had verses like.
I'm assuming it was a bunch of collabs and shit like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, they were meant to be collabs like from the jump because that's what UGK was. Right. But I'm saying the last album that was actually them, where it was recorded pieces when Pimp C was alive. Like I also heard it, and I've also heard the later ones.
Right, that's what I'm saying. After he had already passed.
And to be honest with you.
Is it the same thing?
It's not the same thing, but it was enjoyable. But again, perfect example. It was enjoyable to me because I follow these cats and I know what they stood for and what they were trying to do from the jump. So me as a fan, I appreciated it. Now, to kind of contradict myself, but not really. I don't want to hear that shit now. You know what I'm saying? Like if today in 2020, I hear somebody say, and they've done it. Somebody did it back in 2016 or 2017. They released a song, and they had Pimp C vocals on it. I was like, people do it with Tupac all the time. It's like, dude, let it go. You're fucking it up. Like I don't want to hear that copy paste shit on an audio track because that's all it is. It's tracked. Again, I went to school for recording engineering and production, so I know exactly how they do it. The layman's terms is they copy paste the track off of vocals that supposedly have never been released before, and they put that on top of a music track, and then they track your vocals with them. And that's how you get featuring artists that have been passed on living artist tracks. Me personally, let that shit go, bro. Because
I'm with you, man. I think the farthest you should go is maybe a sample. You know what I mean? Like
exactly. Samples are different because samples are vocals that you use from the work that they had already done. And you're sampling. But when you take vocals to make them to a verse that is on your new song and they're no longer here, to me, that's just borderline disrespectful. So I just like, well, now that he said it, you know what I'm saying? Like, I would create a different podcast, even if he had passed away or whatever. And I mean, depending on what the subject was on that particular episode that I'm doing, I would play back sound bites of of maybe something Sean said in a previous, episode of this shit or whatever.
Well, okay. This brings me to the example I was going to use, and this is the one that kind of I think really stuck it for me was we've referenced Patrice O'Neill on the podcast before. You've listened to the Black Phillip Show, right?
No.
Are you familiar with the Black Phillip Show? Okay, basically the Black Phillip Show was an offshoot of Patrice O'Neill's appearances on Opie and Anthony. Basically, he got hooked up with XM to do a Saturday night kind of, basically the same thing. Shit, her name is escaping me. Plucky little DJ we had in here, short hair. Does the love show, blah, blah, blah.
Nikki.
Yes, Nikki Ray.
Nikki. We love you, Nikki. I'm sorry.
Saturday evenings, 9 o'clock. Is that, am I fucking that up? Anyway, something like that. Basically, they brought him in to do like an hour show, call-ins, that kind of shit.
Yeah.
It's you can find like the entire run. They didn't do like a lot of them, and I guess there were a lot of breaks in between. Like they'd go like 8 months between recordings and shit.
Yeah.
Some of the best fucking, look, I'm not saying it's all genius fucking advice, but it just, some of the best engaging like conversations about like, philosophy of male-female interactions, man. It's some fascinating shit. And you had another comic in there, Dante Wilder. That might not be it.
No, that's the boxer, bro.
Yeah, you're right. His last name, Dante, big fucking dude with an earring. Dude, fascinating guy. He was an ex male stripper. Fucking just the stories that dude tells are fucking insane. But, it's him and Patrice. He was basically Patrice's
sidekick.
Kind of, sort of, man. He had him in there to get it going back and forth. You know
banter.
What I mean? Yeah. And then he'd bring in like various guests and shit.
Yeah.
Yamanika Saunders, I think, was a regular on there and shit. And it was fascinating shit. Dante tried to keep it going after Patrice died. And I think they were actually still calling it the Black Phillip Show, only it was the Black Phillip Show with Dante, right? And very quickly they kind of realized it wasn't the same thing. If you don't have it,
I have that clear. Like I completely understand that it would not be the same. And I mean, I respect that. Like you saying, I would rather you not continue with it, and I completely understand why. But
and it's not like you sully the name. I think it would be a pointless endeavor. One, I think we're living in an age where
just to be clear, because I want to be clear what I'm understanding.
Right.
Even if you were to pass away, you wouldn't want me to continue with the Bouncing Brains. That's what I'm clear on.
Nah, man, I'd say let the catalog, because this is exactly what I'd do if the situation was reversed. I'd let the catalog stand. I wouldn't take it down. I'd make it like it'd be available, but it would be a thing that stood by itself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I feel you.
Because too often, all right, great example. Or at least an example that comes to my mind that like I thought was fascinating to look at was when Carson Daly left MTV back in the day. He got that talk show on NBC, I think. If you go back and watch the original episodes, he had a traditional late night talk show, the desk and the fucking, the band wearing the suit and all that shit with the spotlights. And to be honest, he looked like he was gacked out of his fucking mind for all of them. And it was fucking great, dude, because he had that fucking, like, look, man, that's just me. I like that kind of like that almost like Las Vegas skeezy vibe to it. You know what I mean? Like he was bantering with people. It was tight entertainment, but I can totally see how behind the scenes that shit may have gotten reckless real quick. And what it seemed like is NBC fucking like clamped down on his ass real quick, and they went to a pre-recorded format where they were recording his ass during the daylight, and you could see him start putting weight back on. And this was after he'd gone to rehab and all this shit. And it's like, okay, but they kept the name. Still, fucking, what was it? Late fuck all with Carson Daly or whatever the fuck it was, right? But it wasn't the same show. It wasn't the same fucking thing.
Yeah.
Like consider, was it Anthony Bourdain? He had several shows, right? But they were all different. You know, it's all just, you know, it's Anthony Bourdain going
You want me to be honest, and as you talk about it more, it begins to resonate with me where I completely understand.
and I
where
may
you're
be
coming
repeating
from.
myself.
No,
a
no,
little
no,
bit
no,
here, but
no, no, no. No, that's what I was gonna say. Because now you're giving the example with Anthony Bourdain. I'm not gonna sit here and lie to y'all. I even when he was alive, like I was never a big fan. I'm not saying I didn't like the guy. I just wasn't a big fan. But I did watch the one the layover one, the one where he eats at different airports around the world and around
okay,
the
I didn't
country.
even watch that one.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I think it was called Layover with Anthony Bourdain. I think that's what it was called. So I watched that because that shit was interesting. And he was an interesting guy. He really was. He was very interesting and very entertaining. I just never caught on to like his shows or whatever. Anyway, point being was that the other day I was bored and I was watching Netflix and I clicked on one of his shows. I don't remember which one it was. Whichever one is still on Netflix. Clicked on it. And I watched about 15 minutes of an episode. And I don't know why. I don't know why I couldn't continue watching it. Because I just had the thought in the back of my head is like he's dead. Like he's dead. And it just, that thought kept replaying. It was, and I don't know why, I don't even know if it bothered me or why it bothered me. Because then I thought, I've seen, like today, not literally today, but today in recent months and in recent weeks or whatever, I've seen countless Chris Farley movies and I'm fine, you know what I'm saying? I've seen Patrice O'Neal, Elephant in the Room recently, and I'm fine. I don't know why it was just like with Anthony Bourdain. I just felt so. Anyway, to tie it back to what you were saying, I do understand what you mean by you saying, you know, just let the catalog live, and now it's good. It's good to know. Because I saw it from a completely different perspective. And I'll even tell you as far as like how far I was, like I thought of it. Because I was like, you know what, if I continue with the bouncing brain, so on and so forth, you know, I know we talked about it's not about the money, so on and so forth, but I even thought at some point whenever we do start making a salary, I'm pretty sure you're gonna be making a salary, so on and so forth. I even thought, you know, whenever Sean's not here, and if I were to continue with the show, like your salary would not die with you. You know what I'm saying? I would like the proceeds of whatever you were making from it.
right.
I would give to somebody of Sean's choosing, whether it be a family member, whether it be whoever it would be, but somebody on your end would still benefit from what we created together. Because that was always one of my thoughts, you know what I'm saying? Like, cause I've seen, not unless y'all know more than I do, and I'm pretty sure you do, I've heard of very few companies that do that. Companies that you work for, you know, after you pass away, they replace your ass and then they forget about you. That's the reality of the world that we live in. But very few companies, and I can only think of two in the back of my head, off the top of my head at this point. GoPro. If you work for GoPro and if you work for Google, one of the beautiful things of working for those companies is that Google, because Google's the one that I know more detail about. Google, when you work for them, I don't know if there's a year limit. I don't know if it's after 2 years or 5 years, or I don't know if it's right out the gate. But if you work for Google and then you die, Google will continue paying your salary to your firstborn kid until they're 18. And then, if you don't have a kid, it goes to one, like if you were married or whatever, or like it'll go to one of your relatives, not for 18 years, but I think they do it for 10 years. For 10 years after you pass away, your salary goes to like a relative or whatever. And then of course I think after 10 years, I mean, they cut you off and they're going to be supporting you for the rest of their fucking life. But I just thought it was kind of neat. And GoPro does the same thing. They have the same model to where like if you pass away, your salary either goes to your kid or they go to one of your relatives and they continue paying your salary and whatnot. So I just think it's just a lot of Fortune 500 companies that really do have the fucking money to do it, but they don't do shit for their employees. It's like, all right, man, you gone, move you out the way.
To be honest,
somebody
man,
else will replace you.
It's as quick as they turn people over, I'm pretty sure that's a gamble. That's a house gamble on their part, man. Basically, they're going, I bet your ass lives long enough to see us fire you, or you quit or something. Like, they're probably very. Don't get me wrong. Because I'm familiar with that, and I do know there are a few instances where people have collected on that policy. But how often does that happen?
No, and that's exactly what I'm saying. It doesn't happen often enough, and it's just sad. And I get it. I completely understand the other side of the token. If you haven't realized it yet, I don't give a fuck who you are. You could be the CEO of Microsoft, but your ass is replaceable by, if not the next fucking day, the next week at the most, because there is, you gotta understand that there is a line of motherfuckers that are just waiting to jump on the chance to take the position that you had.
Okay. But that is the distinct difference between, say, I was going to say real work, but yeah, real work, productive work, and the creative work is that, like, you can't get the same product without the same people, man. Like, Martin Scorsese's movies haven't been the same since his editor died. Same thing for Tarantino, man. You know what I'm saying? And just to like put like because we're coming up on the first hour here, but just as one
fuck already.
One final example as far as the artistic side, I have more than a few times had to introduce and explain to people the fact that there are three different Pink Floyds. There's the 1960s Pink Floyd with Syd Barrett, which is some trippy acid rock, weird, why is there a goat baying in the background of this audio track nonsense. I love it. I still have Piper at the Gates of Dawn in my CD rack. Then there's the Pink Floyd that everybody knows, Money, Time, Dark Side of the Moon, Wish You Were Here, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And then you have Pink Floyd, the Division Bell, Learning to Fly. I'm trying to, the name of the albums don't even come to me. There were some other ones after that. But the point being is, man, that was after Waters left. And It's like, look, I love albums from each one of those eras. I have them. You know what I mean? I can quote, verse and chapter from, many of them. But I am very aware and cognizant of the fact that those are three different fucking bands.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just, but
they're all called Pink Floyd.
It's like everything else. Same example with, what's his fucking name? Or what are their names? AC/DC.
Yeah.
What's his name? The first dude?
Bon Scott.
Yes. And then the other fucker. What's his name? The one that came after? That cannot, for the life of him, could never hit that high note.
They're different.
Very different. And I hate when people fucking say they sound the same. No, they don't. When he tries to get into that high, I'm not even going to try it. That high pitch is just, it sounds.
They are both very unique voices.
Yes.
But yes.
It's different.
It was not, I would rather Bon Scott had not drowned on his own vomit in the back of a car. But yeah. That's a good place to put a period on it. But we'll be right back in a second, folks. All right.
And we're back. So, with that being said, life moving forward and major adjustments.
Well, look, as I started to say earlier before we went down a bit of a rabbit hole on,
Other shit.
digital distribution, which, hey, look, all of this is not just, again, as I was saying about the whole fanboy thing, this is not just us fucking digging around on our little favorite hobby. This is really going to be important shit moving forward for just, the economy in general. Like how, okay, at the moment we're having a resurgence of capital being invested in manufacturing, domestically. But we also have this whole issue about, manufacturing facilities being shut down because of the whole infection idea. It's like, okay, so we're balancing out with one, we haven't had a manufacturing base, or a strong manufacturing base here domestically for a long while here. A couple decades. Probably in our lifetime, there has not been that strong of a manufacturing base. Like, I worked in a koozie printing warehouse for a while, but that was about it, man. I don't know anybody else that's done like factory work down here. You know what I mean?
I see what you're saying, but kind of the approach that I was kind of aiming at was kind of like starting from the bottom. Not from the bottom, but what I was saying was my attention was more so because I'm starting to see it a lot more, like around the things I hear online and what I read online. I meant more from the social part of it.
Okay, but what I was
as human as our approach to the world and to ourselves as human beings.
But the way that we're let's say contextualizing the distribution of non, physical goods like information goods, I think we're also recontextualizing. Also with the way people are using like Amazon and the various. Not like what's it called? The gig economy type shit, the delivery on demand type stuff like that. I think you're going to see more of that reflected in the larger scale economy as well, in that maybe you have like micro manufacturing where it's like, maybe you just have a machine shop that can be completely retooled to do, one thing this week. My understanding is that's the way a lot of the factories in China is. It's not like you have a factory that like, all it does is build like microchips. It's like they rig it out to build microchips, and then when they're done building microchips, they completely re-rig the factory and build something else. So if you can do that on a smaller scale, maybe that's part of how we, redistribute the economic base. As I said, I was listening to that interview with Joel Salatin. If you're not familiar with him, he's a rancher big in the holistic movement. Like he's the one, if you've ever listened to anyone talk about he popularized the idea of like mobile pens. Like, say you have 100 acres, right? Mm-hmm. You have 100 cows. Well, instead of letting that 100 cows run over that 100 acres, you have a small electric fence that you herd them into 1 acre, today, and then tomorrow you move the fence, and you know what I mean? And you're doing that, so you're constantly rotating the land. Then you're bringing in chickens behind them to kick around. It's a long, complex process, but what it is on a smaller plot of land and with a more, let's say, focused workload, and highly monitored too. It seems like some hick shit. You're just moving cows around, but he's like got this shit like flow charted and whatnot. They're producing a lot more goods from that, and I think maybe you can see that mirrored in other economic endeavors, which again is mirrored in the electronic distribution, for bullshit like this. We can put our podcast out on a million different avenues if we're willing to put in the effort, yada, yada. And then you monetize on the side of that. Don't worry, folks, the t-shirts are coming. I'm trying to talk Freddy into fucking Zippo lighters and shot glasses because I can see dollar signs. But as far as moving forward the social aspect, man, what I was starting to say about like the whole reality tunnel thing is, man, like, look, we already live in a world where like people pretty much pick and choose what the fuck they want to believe, and the things that motivate them. Like, look, we had germ freaks for years before this. I mean, it was rare, but you could go to the fucking grocery store and run into somebody wearing rubber gloves and a fucking surgical mask.
Yeah.
It didn't happen very often.
Yeah.
And you'd fucking point and giggle or whatever, or maybe you just go, huh, that's fucking interesting. But they were motivated to do that because of what was going on, basically the way they were viewing the world, right? Right now, you can see a clear distinction. There are folks out here fucking, that are thoroughly convinced that fucking we are all going to die tomorrow. Like, if you look at some of the response, by the way, this is, we're recording this on the 22nd. I don't know if it's this weekend or next weekend. The bars are officially opening, so we should be doing some, poorly attended comedy shows soon.
Yeah, I don't know. Thank you for bringing that up. I want to throw my 2 cents in there. This whole time that I've been locked up in my own house, I've contemplated that too. I mean, if I'm having a difficult time just going back to the gym that are open now, and that's for a health reason, I contemplated that too.
But let me ask you this, man.
I don't know how quick I'm gonna get back to the stage.
I've already seen several people that we're both familiar with that have already done shows, man.
No, but what I'm saying is, like, I don't know that's what I was gonna say. I don't know how quick I'm gonna be comfortable and wanting to, jump back on stage. And this is where I kind of sort of also contradict myself, because that is something that I love, and I don't know how long I want to stay away from it. You know what I'm saying? Because I love to do it, and that's what I want to do. But at the same time, I keep thinking, like, do I, cause I'm still battling with the thought of like, do I love it enough to run the risk of that I might catch something of which I may die from?
Let me ask you this, man. Can you articulate what your concern is about the gym?
What do you mean? As far as
what is your specific concern? Cause like, look, okay.
I'm just trying, I just said it. I'm just trying not to die.
Right. But what has you fearful about the gym?
Dying?
Yeah. No, but I mean, all right, look, man. You afraid you're gonna touch something that somebody touched?
Well, okay, all right. Well, so let me directly answer more directly to that. My concern, again, from what I've read,
to be clear, I understand general fear, but I'm saying
no. That's what I'm getting at. From what I understand, again, not unless I'm wrong or I read something wrong or somebody can prove it to me differently. From what I understand of this virus, you can catch it just by breathing it in. So
yeah, that's the main transmission.
Okay.
But the thing is, it's not an very clear distinction there, people. It's not an airborne virus. It can't live in the air. It has to. Its saliva particles are.
So what I'm saying is, so we kind of hit it on the head. It's airborne, and I know that it cannot live in the air. But the point is that somebody has to carry it in order to transmit it in the air, and then you catch it. The thing is that to me. Again, not unless I'm wrong, there is too many people at this point that have it, that the likeliness of me catching it are very high. Now, I've said this many times before. I don't know if I've said it on air or not. Probably not, because we've only been on this bitch twice. But
to be clear, I'm not trying to talk you back into going to the gym.
No, I completely understand. But what I'm saying is, like, I've said this numerous times to my friends off camera. If this wasn't a virus that I could catch and I would just feel really, 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 really shitty for days, maybe even weeks, maybe even a month, maybe even 2 months, and the outcome was going to be that I'm just going to feel shitty, but eventually I'm going to get to back to my normal self, then fine, fuck it. You know what? I can take that risk and I would be completely fine with it.
Okay, but just
It's
to be
the
clear,
fact- it's-
you know statistically that's what would happen.
No, but that's where I'm going. That's what I was going to say. It's the fact
It's that 1 to 2%.
that there is that possibility that I can die from it, that I don't feel fully comfortable taking that risk. And it brings me back to square one, to where I tie it back to what I said in the beginning. Then tie that to the fact that the likeliness of me contracting it is very high. So let me give you another example. Let me give you another example of like where the viruses are different. AIDS. This is why I'm using a very drastic comparison. AIDS. If you get that shit and you don't take care of yourself, more than likely you're gonna die, right? That's what it comes down to. Excluding that there's a bunch of medicine and all that shit that will take care of you, prolong your life, all that bullshit. But if you contract AIDS and you don't take care of yourself, you're gonna die from AIDS. The difference is that I know that for me to contract AIDS, for lack of a better expression, people, well, I'm not gonna apologize, but I need to fuck somebody. Literally, I need to fuck somebody that has it, and I'm probably gonna get it. Or I need to literally have an open wound and touch somebody else's blood, literally, that has that, for me to contract it. So my point is, as long as I stay away from that, more than likely, I'm not gonna get it. I'm talking about AIDS.
Just to make it extra graphic, you'd actually have to fuck somebody until your dick tore.
Exactly. Point. That's exactly my point. So with AIDS, that's why I would take my check. Like if somebody told me, and they've actually said it here in the Valley. I've heard it before. I've heard this like actually 3 years ago. 3 years ago, there was some article and people were talking about it where there was an outbreak of AIDS.
Every once in a while, it flares up down here.
In the Valley. That didn't worry me. One, because I'm not out there fucking like that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So again, back to point number one. Because I'm not out there fucking like that, the chances of me getting it are very slim. Which is the difference with this virus. With this virus, I don't have to fuck anybody. I don't even have to touch anybody. I don't even have to do any of that shit. I just need to come near a certain parameter to somebody that has it that I don't know, and all that person needs to do, literally, if you think about it, is just breathe around me.
That's not even necessarily true, man.
Well, we don't know that, but that.
Well, I'm saying we have better numbers now than we did.
We do have better numbers, but the fact is that we don't clearly know.
Okay, look,
if that's not true, is what I'm saying.
I'm about to make a statement that fucking brings me a little bit of pain, because I have previously on this podcast said that one of the few government agencies that I trust the funding of is the CDC. Right up until they started bold-faced motherfucking lying to the American people about, masks don't do anything. Fuck y'all. But, whether you want to believe it or not, the CDC has recently released a statement that says that according to the numbers they're looking at, surface transmission seems to be a very low likelihood.
Okay, hold on. Before you continue on that point, just explain in a little bit more detail what surface transmission to you it means.
Like literally, okay, say I sneeze, some of it lands on this table. The likelihood of you touching the table and then, brushing your eyelash or something like that and the virus getting in that way is less likely. Now,
That's true, but that's not necessarily true. And again, I cannot make a bold statement because there's not yet enough evidence to back it up. But what the part that is not true, or we don't know, let me say it like that, we don't know if it's true, is if you have it and you sneeze, right?
okay, but that's different. You were saying breathing. Breathing is a lot less different.
Or breathing, sneezing, or, either or. So you
Well, it's not either or. Those are two different actions, man.
I'm giving you the example as either or is what I'm saying. So either or, whether you breathe or you sneeze, the point is that we don't know if you breathe or you sneeze. Like right here, we're in close quarters, right? And the door is closed. I think I used this example last week that we were talking about it. We're in close quarters. If you have it, again, from what I understand, and I also understand that there's not enough evidence yet to prove it, but from what I understand and what they've said before, if you have it and you're here at this point, you're close to, again, from what they've said before, you're close enough to where the likeliness of me catching it is high because you are here.
Higher.
Or higher, yes.
Yeah.
Because you are here and you have it and you're breathing it out. And whether I want to or not, and I understand you didn't sneeze and you didn't spit and you didn't, none of that shit. But because you have it and you're breathing it in and out, basically. And whether I want to or not, again, the mask thing, I'm not wearing a mask. Whether I want to or not, I'm breathing that same air in.
Some of it.
Some of it, exactly. So
and
again,
and there is a likelihood that some of it has water molecules that might have viral particles.
yeah,
This is all statistics. It's chaos theory at this point. You know what I'm saying? The amount of that's what people don't quite look. There are billions of particles of just all kinds of shit, gaseous, what's the particulate matter, yada yada, between you and me right now. It's a fucking soup.
yeah.
The fact that we can see through it is just evolution chose the right goddamn spectrum. I know that's blasphemous as all get out, but Allah forgive me. Point being is the mass of viral particles that may possibly be present in that airspace is a crapshoot. I mean, we were talking about this the other day off camera.
No, but hold on. But what do
what do I mean by that?
Yeah.
Well, okay. We were talking the other day about speech styles, man. I brought up the whole idea of the whole South Texas drawl accent is a lot of very closed mouth speech, right? So when you're talking, there might be a little small stream of, say moisture coming out of your mouth, but there's not like, you've seen people who talk real fucking big and you can't stand within 3 feet of them without wearing a fucking bib. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're literally fucking spitting on you.
Yeah.
The likelihood that motherfucker is going to get some of his mouth moisture into your airway a little bit higher than me sitting here with, talking through my fucking teeth. And there's a difference between the talking, between the sneezing, between the coughing, spitting. You know what? I am not. People spitting outdoors never really bothered me too much. Don't get me wrong. I think less of you as a human being.
Yeah.
But, hey, man.
Let me ask you a question. And this is going to answer a lot of, from the way that you're thinking.
I've kind of drifted off at this point, so go ahead.
But
redirect this.
No, but from the way that because I understand where you're coming from and I understand your headspace and your thought process, but this is going to kind of clarify it for me a little bit more.
Right.
If I told you right now, hey man, I'm hungry. Let's go to IHOP real quick to grab a bite to eat.
Yep.
Would you be like, all right, let's go? Would you feel comfortable enough to go to IHOP with me right now, to sit down there and have a bite to eat?
If we pulled up and there was like 2 tables occupied, yeah, sure. If we pulled up and it looked like, middle of fucking rush hour, fuck no.
Why not? See what I'm saying?
Again, motherfucker, we're talking statistics. 20 people in a room. Look, okay, let me put it this way. You've already stated that part of your caution line, say about recording the podcast, is you don't know if you're quite comfortable having another person in here. Yeah. You've already, let's say, 100% upped your odds of something by having me in here.
Exactly.
Now, you've done
100%.
Now, you have decided, based on the information available to you, that is a reasonable risk, or at least a risk.
But remember the reason why.
Yeah, I know. We're both introverted motherfuckers. We're not going out there. We're not running around and shit.
Exactly.
I mean, there's a reason I'm not showing you my Tinder profile right now, but that's another story.
And that's why. See, and I wish I could say something else, but I can't, people, for legal purposes. But I'll bring it. If you want to, I'll bring it back when we get off. But anyway, because it would have been the perfect example. But that was the reason why. Because me personally, I know enough about you.
Okay, but that's
now let me give you another example, right?
But that's what I'm saying, man. Is the risk value?
Let me give you another example real quick.
Okay.
We both know dirty motherfuckers.
Mm-hmm.
What I mean by dirty motherfuckers, we all know that motherfucker that you go to a public restroom, this motherfucker will stand in the stall, grab his dick, piss into the toilet, and walk the fuck out.
Right.
You understand me?
Right.
Without
touching
washing
every
the
door
hands.
handle the whole way out.
And then, hey man, how you doing, motherfucker? You know what I'm saying? So
hand you a piece of food.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Like, smell this. We all know that, and we all know more than one of those motherfuckers. So yeah. That's my point. My point is that I know people like Sean. I'm not saying that Sean's the cleanest motherfucker in the world, but I know that Sean cares enough to keep himself clean enough so that he's not fucking slobbing his shit on other people. Now, unfortunately, right now, when we go to the outside world, literally, or bring the outside world in, there's a lot of motherfuckers that I don't know that will take the proper precautions in their daily life to not bring that in here. Hence the example that I gave you earlier. If we bring somebody else in, I'm not going to name drop names, but just whoever you want, we bring somebody else in. I don't know that if that person takes a piss and washes their hands. You understand?
I got you, man.
So then if they don't do that, what makes you think that they don't care enough for themselves?
Look, man, I understand fully on that. And to be very clear, I'm, as much as you don't consider me a reasonable risk as a contact, that I also have people in my life who have decided that I am an unreasonable risk as a contact just because of the limited amount of going out into the world that I do. They're even more.
Do you understand how retarded that sounds?
It's not necessarily. Look, man.
Did you just listen to what you said though? Like, and the reasoning behind there? I mean, if there is people that feel like that way about
Dude, I got friends that have been holed up this entire time. They ain't going out. That's it. They got their kids at home. No, but they ain't going out.
But that's what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is what you just said. There is people that will not come in contact with you.
Yeah.
Because you are too precautious.
I am not at their level of precaution. I am not taking the drastic precautions that they are.
Oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah. Okay, I see where you got confused there.
Yeah,
I'm saying there are people out there who are.
Yeah, I know somebody at my workplace where
there are levels to this shit.
This particular person wears a mask and gloves inside the fucking building, and there's just 3 of us. So that person makes me feel.
Just to be very clear, and again, for those people listening to the audio, I mentioned it on the last one. I got a bandana around my neck right now. When I walk out of this motherfucking house, things going right back on my fucking face. It's not a apparent, it's not like, oh my God, the air is poison. It's on one level, I'll be honest, it's a bit of a protest thing. It's like, look, if you're gonna fucking, decide, if we as a society are gonna decide that we're going to make this drastic change, put your fucking money on the table. I'll wear this mask for, first of all, I was already a conspiracy theory, paranoid. I don't want the fucking cameras staring at my face anyway. You give me an excuse to fucking go out, with a bit of anonymity in public. I'll take it in a heartbeat. But the other thing is, I'd rather at least if there's something I can do to like keep this in people's faces where it's like, look, fuckers, the government has fucked with us. On some level, it's some aspect of your life, I don't care how insulated you are, has been affected by this, by decisions made by people who are not you. And there needs to be...
But that happens every day, though.
On some level.
But it does happen.
Level. Let me put it this way. Things have been done outside of our control that affect your judgment.
I know this is going to sound crazy, but think about it.
Crazy.
No, what I'm about to say. It's going to sound crazy, but it ties to what you're saying. We all pay taxes. You get it?
I get you, man. Look, I'm saying that we were already... Anybody that was already... I mean, look, I'm a reasonably...
And for the people that didn't get that analogy... Or I don't even know if I can call it an analogy. What I'm saying is we all pay taxes, and at the same time, we all fully 1,000% understand that our money is being misappropriated drastically.
Yeah.
But we still do it. See what I'm saying?
Okay.
So
then I guess on some level, I'm that asshole that's paying his taxes in pennies. Like...
But you're still paying taxes is my point. See
yeah. Look, man, I'm not... Here's the thing. Even if... Let's go way out on the motherfucking ledge here. Even if this was an entire fucking nonsense, false flag, fake fucking bullshit operation by the Illuminati to see if they could subjugate the human race, even if that was the case, we all made the changes. We put our life on hold for this shit. We allowed the government to determine that they could fine us $1,000 for walking around without a fucking mask.
But
if you're going to give the state the ability to fine me for not wearing a mask, fuck you. I'll wear the mask until fucking we all go back to singing Kumbaya.
But see,
I'm not saying it's logical either.
The difference here is the fact that, and I mean, you can argue this point like many people argue it, but the difference here is the fact that people have actually and continue to die from this shit. Now, you can say it's not directly from that. They had underlying conditions, all of that shit, I get it. But, truth be told, that if it wasn't because of this COVID shit that's going on right now, some people that did have diabetes, did have high blood pressure, wouldn't have died this past weekend. It's a drastic example, but you get my point.
Let's go drastic example here. I, along with many of us, I very specifically remember sitting in a high school classroom while my teachers lost their shit and kept turning the TVs on and off while, 3,000 people burned to death in New York City because somebody thought it was cute to fly a plane into a building.
That's different, though.
No. But how did it change the country? How much fucking bullshit did we accept from the fucking government because 3,000 people died? 3,000, by the way. That's it.
I get what you're saying. I don't make that direct connection because it's different.
How? Why? Because somebody didn't make a decision? We don't know that. We still don't know if this shit came out of a bio lab. We're still freaking out, man. We're not making smart choices.
And that's my point.
And I'm not sitting here going, screaming, damn the sheeple and why must they, the master overlords and the Illuminatus. And look, I'm not saying that it's unreasonable. The response was very reasonable. There are dead people and there are scared people. I get it. But
imagine if you could be scared and dead.
yeah.
Yeah, I would say that. Leave me the fuck alone. Anyway.
You the first motherfucker gonna be worried in purgatory. Just be like, shit, did I turn the gas off?
No, man, but look, because we can go down a rabbit hole.
The point I was trying to get to, by the way, with all we're doing is adding one more option to the reality tunnel. If there are a lot of people, I think there are going to be a large number of people for whom this is not going to make a goddamn bit of difference in life.
For sure.
To be honest, I am very slowly losing patience with the nods to conformity that I am making. Like, look, like I said, I'm going to wear the mask until we're done with this bullshit. You know what I mean? Like, if you're going to keep throwing numbers in my face, fine, I'll cover my fucking face. That's the least I can do for you. That's literally, and apparently, based on the numbers, if we all just did that, the numbers would be better. That's all it is. Don't fucking cough on shit. Don't breathe on shit. Just don't fucking, first of all, don't be sneezing on people's food anyway. We can all agree that the people that were out there licking ice cream needed to have their ass beat.
Respect people's personal space.
Oh yeah,
you don't need.
Have you seen these assholes getting up in people? Even look.
Yeah, I know what you're going to say.
There's all right. As I was said, there's a difference between talking, between coughing, between sneezing, and yelling in somebody's face from about half a foot away. You're most definitely putting fucking water particulates into their fucking system. You are almost ensuring you're coughing into somebody's eye at that point when you're yelling in their face like that.
Yeah.
And these people are so comfortable doing it, man. Look, I almost understand some of these violent outbursts that we're seeing. Don't get me wrong, people fucking fighting in line at Ross is retarded, but
somebody brought that up. I don't know what they made a joke about it and they were mad because I didn't laugh.
There was a video. Yeah, look, man. Hey, you're making the right choice, man. Stay the fuck off Facebook.
Oh, by the way, just an update on me being off social media, and I know what y'all gonna say. Y'all gonna say I'm a nag, and I'm this. You can say whatever the fuck you want, but I've noticed since I've been off social media, it hasn't been much of a difference, but my anxiety and my stress level have been on the lower end because I noticed when I came off it. I did notice how much of a difference just being away from digital social bullshit basically really made. Like it's people like now I want to say, man, like people that committed suicide and look, if you lost somebody that committed suicide because they were being bullied on social media, I get it. I'm sorry. I'm not making fun of you. Whatever. But point is, bro, if that shit bothered you so much, all you had to do was turn it off. I don't believe in being cyber bullied, and I will say it again. That is a load of horror shit. Again, Chris Rock couldn't have come up with a better bit when he said, it hurts so much to be cyber bullied. It hurts so much. Yes, but not as much being pushed an actual flight of fucking stairs. So, there you have it. I'm since I've been off it, man, and my biggest thing is that, like, since I've been off it, I've been able to focus on so much other shit by, like, removing this little block of that occupied by social media or whatever.
Right.
Now, and I will say it again, I'm still on Instagram, and I'm not saying that I'm completely gonna go off Facebook and whatever the fuck else I was using. I think it was Facebook and whatever the other one is, Twitter, I think. I'm gonna get back on it at some point. I don't know when, but eventually at some point you will see me back on it. But right now, I don't feel the need for it. I don't think the world has passed me by because I'm not on it. So whenever I do make that choice at some point, cause right now I'm not even doing it out of boredom. I've gotten bored and I'm not like, ooh, I'm gonna get back on it.
Be honest, man, all you've missed is memes. That's it.
And that's exactly why the fuck I got off it in the first place. Because of the fucking stupid ass memes y'all were fucking sharing. That shit got old real quick. So if that's all I'm missing, I'm good. I'm probably not gonna get back on it still. But anyway.
Yeah.
That was my rant on that.
Look, man, there have been, as I was saying, man, there's some tension, and I understand the tension. I am genuinely, fuck it, I'll go this far. I am pleased with how little violence has been perpetrated. I was expecting much more directed as well.
I think it's more so because people are still holding on to, and it's not my hope, I'm saying it's their hope. People are still holding on to the hope that this is gonna be over soon. And people are also holding on to the hope that they truly believe that eventually soon we're gonna go back to the way we used to live. And I'm sorry, dude, but if you really just step into a realistic mindset for a split minute, I've said it before. I hate to break it to you people, but I highly doubt that even when this goes back to whatever you want to consider normal being, we are not going to go back to whatever we were before. And I base 80% of my statement on the fact that this is a virus. You don't get rid of a virus. This virus is here to stay, and we just need to learn to cope with it. And hopefully at some point, look people, AIDS was discovered 100 years ago, 50 years ago, became mainstream 60 years ago, whatever. AIDS is still here. And guess what? AIDS is still killing people. That has not gone away.
But it's also not... look, I was just reading something the other day. It was a... It wasn't like a scientific piece, man. It was an op-ed type of piece. But basically what it was is this woman, because of the whole COVID thing, they were quarantining with her husband's family, right?
Yeah.
And she is the woman who's writing this HIV positive, right?
Mm-hmm.
But she's managed. Like it's not like
see, but that, and I know where you're going, especially with the HIV people and the cancer people. I still say that's different though, because like with HIV people and cancer people,
and that's not the case for everybody, by the way.
And there's not enough. That's the thing. This is the other factor. There's not enough study to back the proof to even prove what I'm about to say, or even if you say the flip side of it. But the thing is that as far as what we know, HIV positive people or people that have AIDS or people that have cancer, because they're a lot more immune deficient, if they catch this shit...
Well, no. But that's the thing with HIV. We briefly touched on this in the last episode. The difference between AIDS is when you are immune compromised. That's when your system has begun to shut down.
I get it. But even
the HIV load is not... It does not begin to affect the immune system. And the treatments that they're using now get that so far down. Like, that was the whole gist of the story was her mother-in-law came across... her fucking HIV medication, starts freaking out like, oh my God, my son's fucking, married to somebody with AIDS, and they're trying to explain to the bitch, like, look, she tested positive for HIV. She has treatment. The virus load in her system is so fucking small, she cannot transmit it at this point. That's how good we've become at treating HIV. Like, you can, that's why people, Johnson.
That's why I was about to say that's why
Magic Johnson could fuck you in the ass right now. And I'm not saying you'd want to, but hey, I know you like basketball.
I'm just saying that's what I was gonna say. And Magic Johnson has been living for like 100 years with AIDS and shit, and he's still here. And he looks a lot healthier than most of you motherfuckers that don't have AIDS. So, but yeah, I mean, but the thing is that, again, from what I've read, and we could bring it back to a simpler form if you'd like. Because there's not enough proof yet, but from what I've read, even people with high blood pressure, and I'll take it a step further, people with controlled high blood pressure, like myself, because my high blood pressure is controlled at this point, they're still at a higher risk than people that don't have high blood pressure. See what I'm saying?
Right. But you're talking about risk factors. You're not talking, look, it's not like, how do I put this, man? All right, we were getting the hard kind of opinions when this shit started, where it was like, okay, it's only people over 65. Okay, well, it's not only people 65.
Well, great point. Which now we know that is not just people over.
Okay, 65. And this was a very good number. I can't remember what it was I was listening to where this got brought up.
I'm telling you,
statistically, the average age of somebody who dies from this is older than the average life expectancy.
I've heard
that. Granted, that's statistics.
I've heard that, but then again, dude.
And
I don't know. I don't exactly. That's where I was going. I don't know. That's what I was going to tell you. I don't know how true that is, but what I do know, because I was like you a couple of months ago. I was like you until I read the story of the 24-year-old dying and of the 35-year-old dying.
I don't know if we're talking about the same 24-year-old, but that motherfucker had just come off a round of chemo treatment. This was not This was not a live and healthy 24-year-old. If we're talking about the same story.
I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if that the 24-year-old I'm talking about.
I have yet to come across
or whatever.
I have yet to come across a case.
And then there was the 17-year-old in Los Angeles, but I don't remember if that 17-year-old had any.
But again, almost
underlying condition.
I have personally yet to see a case like that, an extreme case like that of like a 17, 24, yada yada, small child, whatever, that has not had some risk factor involved. Like we brought up the
same. Okay, well let me give you this example. It's kind of to where you're going with it. Same thing. Michael Yo.
Okay, but we talked about that. That guy was doing multiple highly congested flights across the country.
I get it, but
my hot points.
I get it.
Vegas, New York.
I get it, but my point is that he was one of the healthiest motherfuckers on earth.
That motherfucker. I know people who look pretty goddamn healthy. As far as he knew he was healthy, if I understand.
But his doctor told him that he was healthy. And I mean, if his doctor doesn't know how healthy he is, then who the fuck is gonna know? You see what I'm saying? So my only point with him was that
okay, but I'm saying even if he was at the healthiest he's ever been, you're still talking about a high risk factor because of the activities he was engaged in that time span where he believes he contracted it. He was
same thing. So back to the earlier point. So why can't we go to IHOP?
Again, if we pull up the IHOP right now and there are 2 tables with people at it,
again,
I'm good.
My point exactly. Going back to the logic that you were, and I'm not trying to change your mind. I'm just trying to make a point. going back to the logic that you were using.
2 people and 20 people is a vast difference.
I understand that, and that is my point, that it is a vast difference. But if you feel okay with that shit and the point that you were making about the comedy shows and shit, why do you feel... Basically what I'm saying is, why do you feel okay, unless I'm misunderstanding something,
Okay.
why do you feel okay being around 20 people at a comedy show, per se, but you don't feel okay being around 20 people at an IHOP?
Okay, first of all, what venue are we talking about? Name a venue.
It doesn't matter.
No, it does. It does matter.
Why
Name
does it
a
matter?
venue.
No, why? I want to know that. Why does a venue matter?
Because we're talking about airspace. We're talking about...
Same fucking thing, bro. Okay.
It doesn't magically transport across the fucking distance, dog.
But it's the same thing. Like,
you would have... Look, if we did this at opposite corners of the room, you would have to be fucking spitting at me.
So let me ask you a question. If we do go to IHOP...
We're not going to, by the way, just to be clear about this.
Are you gonna... Am I gonna sit at one table? And are you gonna sit at a table across from me? A completely separate table?
Let's be honest, Freddy. We've already made our risk at this point, man. We might as well share a coffee. Let's order a pie and get 1 spoon.
But do you see what I'm saying? Like I come back to the nucleus of my argument. The nucleus of my argument is, if I were to catch this thing, right? I don't know the likeliness of me coming out of it. You understand what I'm saying? So, brings me back to my main point. If I was able to know for a fact even the likeliness of me beating it,
right,
then I would tell you, you know what, Sean? Fuck it. Let's go do a show in a vast venue with 20 scattered people.
Let me ask you this: if we're putting a number on it? If you could at least give and this is a guesstimate. You don't fucking know. There are, to quote the great Donald Trump. Hopefully, I'm not Donald Trump. Fucking Rumsfeld, different Donald. Much more of a cartoon character, in my opinion, but an evil villain, son of a bitch. Sorry, I just went down a fucking rabbit hole. Donald Rumsfeld, as he once famously quoted when he was, making the statement that the Pentagon had lost $9 billion. Yeah. My God. Anyway.
Is that the one from?
Or was it 9 trillion? It was on September 10th, he said this. Yeah, from September 11th. Yeah. There are knowns.
Conspiracy, by the way. Nobody believe it but me. Anyway, go ahead.
They did not find an engine. Anyway, there are known knowns. There are known unknowns.
Because beams melt at 3,000 degrees Celsius, but passports don't disintegrate. But go ahead.
Again, it's a soup of air. It floated down gently. Just happened to have a perfectly good thumbprint on it. Anyway,
exactly.
Man, there are unknown unknowns. There's shit you don't know. I understand that. But I'm saying, if you could stick a number on it, what percentage of, let's say, survivability, 90%, 75%?
I don't know.
No, but I'm saying, I'm guessing a number. If I have to throw a number out there right now, I'm saying my likelihood of survival, I'm going to go with a solid 90. I'm going to go with a 90. I am 90% certain that I'm going to be fucking fine. That's what I'm saying.
So let me reiterate my point.
But I'm asking you.
That's what I'm trying to answer it, but let me so you can understand my point.
All right.
Before the 35-year-old died,
okay.
I was at 95. I was like, there's a 5% chance that if I get it, I won't come out of it. And I was willing to take that risk. Fuck it, you know what? 95% chance, I'll gamble. But then that 24-year-old death and the 35-year-old death really fucked with me.
Two questions. One, off the top of your head, where would you say you're at now? 70? 65? 54?
You're gonna think I'm crazy, but I give myself a 50-50 chance. And I'll tell
Okay.
I can tell you why though. And again, the first part of the answer you're gonna think I'm psychotic,
I already do.
but the second part of my answer is where my explanation comes in play, and it's not a large explanation. But the first part is because of my fucking luck, bro. I have such fucking bad luck that on my luck, I probably can and would catch this shit. Second part of that answer is because I had underlying conditions, health conditions that were uncontrolled for a very long time. My controlled high blood pressure has only been controlled for about 3 years, which means that was uncontrolled for a good maybe 7 to 10 years. Okay, so what I'm saying is, I am also not completely clear if, like to my knowledge, I mean clear, if for that extended period of time, I don't know how much damage that condition did to the rest of my organs. I have gotten my organs checked out. The doctor said that I'm as good as a kid, a baby, whatever. But I really don't know. Like, I really don't know how much my artery walls have been damaged. So on. You factor in with the fact that for a long period of time, I was an avid drug user and drinker. That does not help the equation. Again, Michael Yo was a very healthy individual as far as he knew. And from what he explained and from what I understand, he's not, and he's never really been a drug user. And look where he ended up. He almost didn't make it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And again, there were understandable and articulable risk factors that were present in his situation.
Yeah.
He was around a lot of people.
But then
he
again,
was in a heavily traveled area.
It goes back to,
and this was pre any sort of let's say hygiene measures that were being taken on a vast scale.
Now.
I mean, just to point out and make this very clear, most of the initial cases here in Hidalgo County in the ass end of South Texas were traceable back to Las Vegas, which is exactly where the fuck he was. Vegas was a big vector point for a lot of this. The initial transmissions. Now, obviously, once it went, community based, that's, we started locally sourcing our own COVID. But look, man, let me ask you this. Okay, that was the first question. So you're 50-50. You're at max potential chaos right now.
Yeah.
You don't know whether your glass is half full, half empty. You don't fucking know. But let me throw this at you.
Had they not been died,
no. Okay, I understand. The 24, the 17-year-old. Let me ask you this. Clearly, that had an effect on your risk assessment. But did it motivate you to go look into the cases to actually see why? Did it just scare you, or did it motivate you?
It motivated me to go and see. Okay, why did these people die, and why are people dying? Is what I
okay. So in those specific cases, what were the risk factors?
Okay, so great question. So, which brings me to the other point again, as to why it holds me back from taking the risk.
Okay.
I think it was a high number of I think it was up to 80%. Mm-hmm. 80% of the people that contracted COVID and passed away had the same common denominator as far as the underlying the same underlying
high
condition,
blood pressure was
which was high blood pressure. Now there was two other things that they all shared as well. That thank God I don't share. Was the other two were diabetes. Mm-hmm. And severe obesity. Now, I understand. I am not severely obese, and thank God I'm not diabetic. But, the common denominator in all that 80% was high blood pressure.
Now, let me ask you this. As somebody who is concerned about that, have you seen anything that describes whether or not it's the active high blood pressure, whether it is the...
I've heard both sides.
So it might be the damage to tissues caused by the high blood pressure that's a factor.
But what I was going to say as well with that was that I've heard both sides, as in people are saying, no, dude, kind of like you said right now. No, dude, your high blood pressure is controlled. You have high blood pressure, but it's controlled, so you're fine. But I've also heard you still have high blood pressure that's not going to go away, so you're not necessarily in the clear, even though it's controlled.
I would like to point out, man, and you've talked about this on the podcast, man. You went from having to take medication to control your blood pressure to having, at least without maybe identifying them exactly, through changes in your diet and your exercise routine.
Yeah.
You are pretty much handling that, what's
with no medication? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I was going to say naturally, but that's not even like your body. You have corrected whatever the underlying cause was,
but
cause
it's still there.
is.
See what I'm saying?
But you don't really know that, because that's the thing. If you were taking medication, that would mean that there are other factors that are leading
let me
to...
rephrase that. So I don't know if you know. I think you know, because you know about health.
Like, there are predispositions
for the people that maybe don't know. High blood pressure, unfortunately, is a chronic condition. What I mean by that is, and this was actually explained to me by an actual doctor, like a physician.
Right.
So high blood pressure is one of those things where once your body develops it, there's no going back. Like, in other words, you can't cure it. So what the doctor said was, you can control it and you can live with a controlled blood pressure for the rest of your life with like a balanced diet, exercise, so on and so forth. But the hypertension condition, you're always gonna have, and you'll always be at risk.
Look, I'll be honest, that sounds like a very fucking complicated way of saying that your ass has, you're responding to something, either your diet or your lifestyle, something about that, environmental factors that are leading you to have.
Let me give you another example.
Look, you can't eat, you have an issue with pork, right? You've talked about this on the podcast.
But that's from something else.
But I'm saying, you eat pork and that raises your blood pressure, and then they go, oh, okay, well, I know this
when
is
I eat pork, it gives me the shits. It doesn't fucking, that's what I'm saying, that's different.
Well, you talked about that one incident where you had to go to the fucking
No,
ER.
but that was that one time. The reason that I'm allergic to pork, the way my body reacts to it, is just I get the shits really bad.
Okay,
for days.
But let's use as an example. If you went in and said, I've got the shits, and they went, you know what? You're going to have the shits for the rest of your life. That is a condition that you will now live with. Now, you can control the shits.
Which that condition exists, just by the way.
Yeah, no. IBS is a real thing, but to be honest, more and more they're finding that IBS that is not a condition. That is
but there is a condition called chronic diarrhea. I don't think that's the correct. Look it up. I don't think it's a correct term, but chronic diarrhea is a thing.
But that's caused by something. That's not. It doesn't exist by itself.
Yeah, same thing. High blood pressure.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. There are factors.
Something.
But if you're controlling for the factors, you are. That's all right. Cured is a fucking kind of amorphous fucking phrase, but you have corrected.
Yeah, but it's still there. See what I'm saying? That's my point.
The risk is still there in that if you went back to, say, eating the diet you were eating, you'd immediately that's a fucking thing. Look, man, I'm predisposed to fucking diabetes and heart disease. Just my family's.
Me too. Yeah. We're on the same boat.
Yeah. Well, a lot of that is just dietary factors. When we this is a long conversation that would take a while to get into, but basically the last 100 years of the standard American diet, or even just the standard Western diet, is filled with fucking risk factors as far as, the sugar, the fucking, the overloading of carbs, the processed chemicals, you know what I mean? The nitrates, which can have an effect on blood pressure and vascular tissue. We brought up aspartame earlier, which has been shown to at least have some effect on some people's, physiology. We all have different little risk factors, food allergies, yada, yada. We're working this shit out. But I think in the time being, they do kind of throw out these fucking, just general, high blood pressure. All right. That's a result. That's not that's not a cause. It's not like you suddenly just get gifted with high blood pressure. There's got to be shit that leads to that. Okay. To tie this bow up, because we are coming up on the end of the second hour here and, try to keep these episodes a little tight. Keep you motherfuckers wanting more. There are risk factors, man. And let me rephrase that. There are risk calculations that are being taken every fucking day.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, look, I look both ways before I walk out into traffic. Most of the time, there's nobody fucking coming. Sometimes there's a fucking truck. I almost got fucking backed into in a fucking parking lot on the way over here. Just because shit, people were failing to take risk factors into consideration. They didn't check a blind spot. Yada, yada. It happens. Don't go into crowded places. If people aren't wearing masks, take that into consideration. If they're across the fucking room, don't fucking lose your shit. There's probably enough airflow between you and them that it's not going to happen. If they're coughing, maybe leave the room. I understand what you're saying, man. You're at that, like, as I was only half joking when I said that, man. You're saying basically you're at the max chaos at this point. 50-50, you don't fucking know whether to shit or, fucking jump. I get it. And I think there are a lot of people that are trying to find where they're at on that right now.
Yeah.
And
and believe me, I also know that there is people that they're in a worse headspace than I am. There's people that have not left their house, the inside of their house since this shit started.
Well, dude,
so
look, man,
they get food deliveries. They don't leave the house, period.
And I know people who started out being very paranoid and have just gone, oh, fuck this. And they've just gone back to living life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They ain't dropped dead yet. I have no idea if they have, if they've come in contact with the virus. By the way, the longer this virus goes on, the less lethal it will become because it'll have already killed off the people that it decided to kill. That's
also kind of factual.
Yeah. Look, there's a reason back in the day what they do and what they were doing in China where it's like, oh, you got the virus? We're going to lock you in your house. And if you live, you live. But if you don't, we'll just burn the building down around you. It's like, look, that strain of the virus clearly was not friendly to human life. Where I'd like to kind of close this up with is like, look, be patient with people. Just be aware. And be aware also when I was saying about the violence that I'm genuinely surprised. I really are. There are people that are scared enough that they're angry. Like they're not, and it's not like angry like fucking, fucking look, I'm genuinely upset, disappointed, and on some level fucking very fucking, angry at, say, some of the actions that have been taken by our government. I think some of it is out and out fucking evil.
By the way, for the
discussion.
People that love to be American and all this shit and praise America, I hope you're not dumb enough to not realize that your constitutional rights are being violated. Just so you know. Oh, yeah. And you seem to be completely okay with it.
By the way, I made a statement the last episode about being, kind of cool with some of the shit that Abbott was doing. Just to be very clear, I still don't like the man. I still think a lot of the shit that he did during this was unconstitutional as fuck. The idea that he thinks he's allowed to shut down the traffic between, Louisiana and fucking Texas is fucking ridiculous. But he did that, by the way. Also required people to quarantine for 2 weeks after air travel. The fuck is the point of that? Just shut down the fucking airports. Just say you cannot fucking operate a goddamn. Again, these are different discussions, but what I'm saying is, I'm not angry on the, I'm going to go take a brick bat to somebody angry. But there are people out there who are generally on the edge of, and you don't know which, they're on both ends, by the way. You have the people that are running around out there screaming, you know, hoax and fucking, you know, talking about the Kung Flu and, you know, getting up in your face going, you know, masks are for sheeple and all that crap. And then on the other end of that, you got, you know, people sitting at home wearing fucking rubber gloves and fucking respirators and, you know, they'll shoot you for coming on the property thinking this is a goddamn zombie apocalypse. They're out there. Fortunately, they're locked in their houses for the most part, so they're not killing anybody yet. But, you know, just be a little bit careful if you knock on a stranger's door for a while, because, look, people are mad and beautiful, and it's an insane world that we live in right now. But God damn it, it's kind of beautiful. I'm enjoying at least the factor that this is forcing people to wrestle with their little reality tunnel. Like, what do you really believe is going on in this world? Because it matters, it really does. Yeah. Like,
and I just lead back to the same thing that I said at the end of the last episode. I really hope that you also take this time to realize how fragile we can be. And I really hope that if you really care, not even caring about somebody else, if you really do care about yourself, I hope this makes you realize how much you should care for your health. And you realize that you only have one. So, I still stress, take your vitamins, literally. Take your vitamin C, your vitamin D, your vitamin E, take some zinc, take care of your immune system, because once that bitch is completely gone, it's gone. So take care of it. Isolation is not going to cure your problem. Take care of your health first. Isolation, distancing, all of that is great. Washing your hands, washing your ass is good too. Take care of your immune system, because it's going to be the defense that really gives you the best chance to deal with this shit if you do catch it. Don't worry worry about it, but don't worry too much about not catching it. Worry more so, okay, worst comes to worst, if I do catch it, give yourself the best fighting chance is all the fuck I'm saying. And that's that's the same way I've been from the gate. From the jump that I knew that this virus existed, my mentality went into, okay, my first thought was immune system. I personally, nobody else, I personally have always had a shitty immune system since the day I was born. Don't know why, but I've always been, my immune system was shit. So I kicked into high gear and was like, how do I strengthen my immune system? And I continued to watch what I eat and stuff like that. And I continue to focus on the immune system. So I've been doing everything that I possibly can, including the social distancing and all that shit. But I just wanted to get through your head that that social distancing and isolating yourself is not going to solve the issue for you. You need to take care of your health and your immune system, make better health choices to give yourself the best fighting chance. Also, understand, people, I'm not a medical professional, but you do not get rid of a virus. It's not going away. It's here to stay. It's going to live among us. We just need to figure out the best way to cope with it and the best way to survive it. And eventually, I do hope that we do get to some point to where, as crazy as it may sound, but like AIDS, so that we can learn to live with it. Not that you get it and live with it literally, but that it's somewhere there and you're here and you're fine. That's what the fuck I'm saying. Okay. So just, that's the best advice that I could give you. And I am curious to see what the next, I'm keeping it short term. I'm curious to see what the next 2 years are gonna look like as far as everything, socially, politically. I don't give a shit because I already know they don't give a fuck about us. I don't care anymore. But just socially as people and our interactions and our life, I want to see. I'm curious to see the next 2 years what that's gonna be like.
Don't be an asshole. Don't be a fool. Get some sunshine. Take your vitamins. Freddy, let them know where to find you, brother.
For now, like I mentioned before, y'all can still find me on Instagram. That's where I'm at. Socially, don't come knocking on my door. I'm not gonna answer. If you don't know where I live, I'm glad. If you do know where I live, don't come to my house. I mean that in the nicest way possible. At Freddy G. I don't know if I said that shit. At Freddy G on Instagram. Like I was mentioning when Sean left the room. Yeah, on Instagram, on email. I gave my email out earlier. Send me some questions. Send me some shit so I can revert it back to you. Negative, positive, whatever you're feeling. If you're touching yourself and you want to tell me that, that's fine. At this point, I've grown a very thick skin. I don't give a shit what you tell me. Just don't send pictures. I don't want to see pictures of any of that shit. And if you do send me pictures, I will fucking post them publicly on Instagram. I don't give a shit if they fucking lock me out. I'll create another account.
You beat me to it, Frank. That's what Twitter is for. Completely uncensored.
Exactly. Thank you, Jack. What's his name?
Dorsey.
Dorsey. Thank you, sir.
If you want to get in touch with me, as always, hatfieldstandup@gmail.com, as well as Hatfield Stand Up on Facebook and Twitter. You can listen to all audio episodes of this podcast at shoutengine.com/bouncing brains, as well as on Stitcher under Bouncing Brains. You can watch the video episodes on YouTube. Search for Bouncing Brains. We are the first results to pop up. We are slowly but surely getting towards that 100 subscriber mark. Thank you for that. You can also listen to episodes of this podcast on RGV Titan Radio. I'm not exactly sure what the schedule is at the moment, but the new episodes will be coming out Friday. This will be coming out. We're recording this on the 22nd. This will be coming out next Friday. We're going to try to tighten up the release schedule, but we'll see how that goes. Ladies and gentlemen, with this, and not counting all the episodes we had to cut for legal reasons, that's 100 episodes. We have done 100 episodes, my brother.
And cheers to the next one. I'm not gonna say 100 more because we don't fucking know. We take it a week at a time, motherfuckers.
2,000 and 100 million from Spotify. Woo! All right.
Y'all have a good one. And one last time, I just want to let y'all know this episode been brought to you by Rockstar. If you want to feel like a rock star or just get wired as fuck legally, drink a Rockstar. Rockstar. Send us our fucking money. And until next time, keep it tight.
And greasy.